Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under Deep Dive podcast. We are the artists formerly known as the Tuesday Crew, and I'm joined tonight by my very good friend Willie. How are you doing, Willie?
I'm doing all right, Stevie. I'm enjoying the international break and getting some good results for Scotland. So hopefully we get another one tomorrow.
Yeah, and let's address the elephant in the room first. How you feel? Are you still on a high after pumping the Huns at Ibrox?
Oh, aye, big time. I'm still enjoying it. I mean, up until England rolled up for the Scotland game, they were still in meltdown, but now they've got something else to focus their attention on. They've got a wee arse to lick over there. So it's it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's quieting down a little bit over on the social medias at the moment, but it'll soon rear its head again when their form or their patchy form reappears next week.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're like one defeat away from a complete meltdown. I think you're verging into Pedro Cachina territory at the moment, where every utterance that comes out of Beale's mouth has been met with ridicule and laughter. So it's almost too good to be true.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping he'll stay, though. You know what I mean? I really quite enjoy him. You know what I mean? He just makes a fool of himself every time he opens his mouth, like so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he stays as well. But at the end of the day, who's coming next for them, really? I mean, they don't have any money.
No.
They don't. They've spunked a family budget on got a bunch of strikers that can't score. And I don't know what happens next. Where does the next manager come from? Where does he get money to spend? They're not in the Champions League, so they're going to be scraping around for money. And I almost think their next manager is going to be a David Martindale or a Derek McInnes type. And Christ, we're here for that, aren't we?
That would be brilliant. You know what I mean? It's probably what they need right enough. Someone to strip it back and start again and take 2 or 3 years and come back at us. They're not going to do it.
They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't last 2 or 3 years playing second fiddle to us. Yeah.
No, definitely not. Right.
All right, let's jump into the subject matter at hand. So we're doing a deep dive tonight on the transfer window, which recently slammed shut, to use a bit of Scottish media parlance. So we're just going to run through each position in the Celtic team, have a look at who we bought, who we sold, whether we think we're stronger or weaker, and at the end, we'll maybe do a bit of a summary over, the transfer window as a whole, and this thing we keep hearing about called the Celtic transfer model. So we'll dive right into it, and we'll start at the back at the goalkeeping position. This was one of the more contentious positions, I think it's fair to say, and that we didn't sign one at all. We did lose 2 goalkeepers from the squad, in Vasilius Barkas and Conor Hazard, who went to FC Utrecht on a free transfer, and Plymouth Argyle for €175,000 respectively. I don't think any of those 2 goalkeepers will be sadly missed. But what do you think, Willie, on our failure to recruit a goalkeeper?
The goalkeeping position is the one I feared the most over the close season, and it's not been addressed, which kind of concerns me a bit more. Is it possible that we try to get rid of Bain and Seagrist before we took anyone else in, but neither of them left? Who knows? But for me, Joe Hart he's not getting any younger. Okay, his performances have picked up a little bit this season when he's not having to play the ball from the back. He's allowed to just boot it long when he can. And it's a weakness that Brendan Rodgers seems to have recognised and addressed. It just allows Joe to be a bit more decisive. So his form has picked up a little bit, but he's no competition. And that concerns me, because if his form does drop off, there's nobody there to turn around and say, well, you don't deserve a place in the team, and he does. For me, Benjamin Seagrist is checked out. Scott Bain is a squad player, nothing more. An injury to Joe Hart would leave us in a really precarious position. So it is something I would be looking to address in January. I don't know, Livakovic, Was there serious interest there and it all fell off and they didn't have a backup? Who knows? But for me, it is a position I would be concerned about. I am concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, I think even leaving aside the form aspect of things, the fact that what you mentioned there, if Joe Hart gets injured, then we're in all sorts of trouble. Because we could be getting into a Champions League game with Scott Bain or Benji Siegrist in goals, and that's an absolutely terrifying prospect. So we can't that can't be something that the club are happy with. The only thing I might suggest is there was some suggestion in the media, and I don't know how much truth there is, that Rodgers wants the guy from Liverpool, the Irish boy Kelleher, as his long-term number one. Now, I guess the question is, if we couldn't get him this summer, but could get him next January or even next summer, would you be prepared to wait for him?
I mean, you could wait to January. I mean, we have to wait to January. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. But if you could get him in January to bed in, get a bit of time with Stevie Woods and Joe himself to give him the sort of expectations of what it is to be a Celtic goalkeeper. But it's like you say, Scott Bain, he's an average keeper. For 88 minutes, he's okay. And then 2 minutes of the game, 2 goals go in. And they all say he's good with his feet, and he is actually quite a good player with his feet. But he's going to cost you goals. And Seager's a good shot stopper, but that's about all I know about him is when we've watched him play. When we've played Dundee United, and his goals just getting peppered with shots, and he's a good shot stopper, but can he do it with the 90 minutes where you're only asked to be focused for 2 of that 90 minutes? Like, who knows? But I would like to see this. That if that is a move for Kelleher, that's one I would welcome. But hopefully it'll be in January rather than next close season. Like.
Yeah, the whole Benji Siegrist thing's a real head scratcher, isn't it? Because he did profile quite well at Dundee United. He was quite a good goalkeeper, and the hope was that he was coming in to challenge to be number one goalkeeper at Celtic. But he's never, he's not even he's never ever took a chance. He's never even really been given a chance. It's always seemed as if Scott Bain's been first cab off the rank if we're looking to replace the goalkeeper. I just wonder. I think you've got to question his attitude in training, really, because this is across several managers. This has happened, so it's not one particular manager that just doesn't like him. Ange didn't play him, and it doesn't look as if Brendan's going to either. So I can only imagine his attitude's terrible in training.
It could be. I mean, I kind of thought like when they went to the tour of Australia that he picked up a new girlfriend over it, and I kind of thought I'll put one and one together and come up with 100 that maybe he was out when Ange said he shouldn't have been out, and he's got himself a new girlfriend. And kind of the rumours are he wants to move to Australia to be closer to her and all that. But it certainly doesn't make sense what's happening there, because he shows up as a good keeper when he played at Dundee United. Everyone gave him rave reviews. And he comes to Celtic, and it's just, does he come with a big time Charlie attitude and he's just been put in his place straight away, or what? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? I think we're better off cutting our losses with the guy and just let him go, because it's just a waste of a wage at the moment. No?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to play him and there's no chance you're going to play him, then yeah, he needs to move on for sure. But whether there wasn't any takers or not. And the only problem with moving to the A-League, I'm sure he has, if he's got a girlfriend down here, he wants to live here. Would that be the second player we're going to lose because of their girlfriend in one transfer window? We're turning into a dating agency, not a football team. But he's going to find it hard to find a club that's going to pay him the same wages he's getting at Celtic down here. So I hope he's willing to take a pay cut. And at the end of the day, that might be the problem.
Yeah, I was just going to say that could be the problem too. Like with Albion Ayeti and players like that, where they're just happy to sit in. Oh, I'm getting a good wage. I'm not going nowhere. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing for my 3 years and then take my money and run.
Yeah, maybe he'll get a touch of the ball and goalies and just not be able to help himself and jump on a plane.
Oh, that's it. Like, yeah.
Force the issue. All right, so we're not really happy with the goalkeeping position. I think that's quite clear. So we'll move on. We'll move out one to the centre half's position. Now coming in, we had Mike Nawrocki, 22-year-old from Legia Warsaw, for €5 million. We also had Gustav Lagerbielke, another centre back for 23 years old from IFL Sport in Sweden, for €3.4 million, and Nat Phillips, a centre back on a loan till Christmas from Liverpool, who's 26 years old. Moving out, we had Karel Starfelt to Celta Vigo for €5 million. And listed on transfer market anyway, another centre half was Osaze Iragidi, who moved to Amiens in France for an undisclosed fee. So we'll look at these individually first, the ones we've signed. So Mike Nawrocki played a couple of games, but is unfortunately injured at the moment. What's been your impression of him early in his Celtic career?
I like what I've seen so far on Nawrocki. He's very comfortable on the ball. He's very, very two-footed as well, which is a bonus. So I think he was going to be the number one sort of to replace Starfelt, right? And Lagerbielke would sit in behind him and sort of complement the squad. But he's just been unlucky to pick up that injury straight away. He hasn't really had a chance to sort of bed in properly, or form a sort of relationship with CCV, which I'm hoping that he'll be able to do, because he, like I say, if you've got a two-footed centre half, having someone who can play with his left foot playing at a left centre half is something that we've kind of been missing for the balance that's in defence.
Yeah, I mean, he's been injured at really exactly the wrong time, but I guess these things happen in football, and for it to happen at the same time as Cameron Carter-Vickers, it's pretty poor, because I'm quite sure that was the intention, to pair the two of them together for the Champions League. So Gustav Lagerbielke, I think it's fair to say, had a bit of a torrid time of it at Ibrox last week. Made a few sort of mistakes, got caught in the ball got caught in position for the Rangers goal, rightly disallowed. But what's your impression of him? Do you think he needs a bit more time to settle into the role?
He's quite young, and you can see he's a bit green when it comes to it. So I think he will need a bit more time, and I think, like I said earlier, he will be the third choice that will sort of complement if one of them suspended or injured, that he will be the one that will step up to take their place, and maybe get out, like if somebody's tiring through the game, he would come on for them. But he's another player who seems like he seems comfortable enough on the ball. I mean, he got caught in possession in the game, but he does seem comfortable enough in possession. He likes his passing stats were quite good. I think his longer passes are a bit off, but his short passes are pretty accurate on that. So I think he's got promise. Right? He's definitely got a prospect there. Like, I know we shouldn't use that word prospect, but I think there's project. That's the one. I think there's potential there in him, Mike. But I think he might take a little longer to bed in than Nawrocki will.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, he was away with the Sweden international squad. He is away with the Sweden international squad this week. I noticed in their game on the weekend, I can't remember who they were playing now, but he wasn't on the bench, and he wasn't in the match day squad. So he's obviously just there for experience. But if they're rating him quite highly in the Sweden setup, they're a really good team. So I'm quite hopeful that he's rated highly enough that he will make an impact in the future. And he's not a loan signing. We've got him on a permanent deal like Nawrocki. So, these guys are here for the duration. So we just need to hope that they hit the ground running when we get some sort of partnership for them. And I do agree with you. I think Lagerbielke will be the third choice centre half. Although, Cameron Carter-Vickers, he's had a few injuries recently, and we can always expect some bids for him next summer as well. So you never know what's going to be planned for these two. Next up, Nat Phillips, centre half, brought in as a kind of emergency loan from Liverpool. 26 years old, good experience across the EPL, the Bundesliga, and in the Champions League. What are you hoping to see from Nat Phillips? Bit disappointing that he wasn't fit to play at Ibrox, but now that we won the game, probably the correct decision. What are you hoping for from him?
I'm hoping he's going to be the Champions League ready sort of defender that we kind of think he will be. Like, he's a no-nonsense defender. I think adding him to the squad will give decent cover at the positions. I think that the move was forced when CCV was injured. So, like I say, he's got that no-nonsense style. He's really highly rated by the Liverpool fans. If you listen to any of their fans, they rave about him. Like, you know, they say he'd push his own man out the way to get to a header. Like, so. He had a man of the match performance in the Champions League. I can't remember was it against Milan or Leipzig, but he's got experience. So I think he'll come in straight away and he'll be the first choice that will go in there, and it will be him and Lagerbielke, all right, until Narowski and CCV are back, and then it's a dogfight for who's going to be who.
See, that's interesting, isn't it, that you think he'll be paired with Lagerbielke? Do you think there's any chance they'll pair him with Scales?
I think Scales might get a game for a couple of weeks. I think they might give Lagerbielke a chance to breathe because, like I said last week, it's been a big move. It's been a bit of a whirlwind for the boy, and he's only 23. He might just need a chance to just take stock of his surroundings. But I think it probably will be Lagerbielke going forward. But I think Scales might get a game against Dundee at the weekend. So.
Last game before we play Feyenoord, though, so
true enough.
If he's going to play in the Champions League, you'd be wanting them to get 90 minutes together before you throw them into that game. Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. So obviously we lost Carl Starfelt, who went to Celtic de Vigo for €5 million. What's your take on that transfer? Bit too cheap?
I think 5 million is 3 or 4 million less than I would have accepted for him. But it seems to me that he's negotiated with the board that he would get an easy exit. So it's not one I wanted to see go, because him and CCV have a really, really good understanding with each other. And yeah, he had flaws, but overall he could attack that ball better than any other defender in the league. And I was really looking forward to seeing him and CCV put themselves into the Champions League together to see, because they didn't really get a run of it last season, and that probably cost us points. So yeah, I'm disappointed to see him go and just wish him all the best. But I think we could have got a bit more money from in the deal, right?
Yeah, I know he was interviewed the other day there, and he was sort of playing down the aspect he was moving to be closer to Jacinta, and he was sort of playing up the notion that he wanted to play in La Liga, and he was very good against Real Madrid a couple of games ago. So, you know, I mean, I think that's something that's been lost in all of this, as he has moved to a top 5 league, although not to one of the top teams in a top 5 league, and he will be playing some of the best players in the world on a weekly basis. So I think, you know, the sort of sympathy aspect of this, I mean, we're a business, and I think we should have held out for more money. I understand you want to let players go when the time is right, but there is a balance to be struck here, and we can't be seen as a pushover. You know, the first time a player fancies a move, then we have to say, yes, you can go, regardless of the transfer fee. And I agree with you. I'd have been looking for 9 or 10 million for Starfelt, because again, he's a full Swiss international.
Yeah,
he's 28, which is not a great age to be selling, but you know, I think that was undersold. So in general terms, how are you feeling about our centre half combinations moving forward? Assuming that everybody's fit, do you think we're stronger?
I think I don't know if we're stronger, but I don't think we're any weaker, to be honest. Okay, we're weaker with injuries at the moment, but I'm happy enough that Starfelt has gone and they've made the moves to replace him, and they seem to have made the right moves to replace him, because I think Narowski will be a good player, and the Lagerbielke, I think it's Starfelt's agent who negotiated the deal to get him to La Liga, is the same agent that's taken Lagerbielke over here. So, and as you say, he's highly rated. He's highly rated in Sweden, and he's in and around the Sweden squad already at 23 years of age. So there's something there too. So I'm happy enough with the centre half position once we get all our players back fit. I would maybe cut my losses and move Kobayashi on, and then in January, if all our players come back fit, wish Liam Scales all the best and give him a transfer out to wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, like I think what might save Liam Scales is the fact that he can play at left back as well, and we'll move on to that shortly. But what you would you be hoping to make the deal for Nat Phillips permanent at Christmas time? I know we haven't actually seen him yet, but would that be something that interests you? He wouldn't come cheap. I mean, I'd probably have to break a transfer record, but would you be interested in doing that deal?
Yeah, I think I've got high hopes for this guy. So I would look to sign him because, as you said earlier, I think when come next season we might not have CCV in the squad because I think he will be one of the ones that will be sought after quite highly. So I would come January when the deals. I don't think we have a clause to buy, but if we look to extend his deal to the end of the season, I would say, look, can we get a clause in there, an option to buy at the end of the season, and then see what sort of price. If they're looking for over 10 million, it might be a bit out. It might be a bit of a push, but if they're looking for like 7 or 8, then yeah, you would look to take him on board.
Yeah, I mean, I think the word from Liverpool was it was a few teams interested in buying him in the summer, but they were looking for around about the 10 million mark, and that was too much for other teams to pay. So, yeah, I think there'd probably be a deal to be done there, maybe around the 7-8 mark. But Celtic haven't shown any great desire to shop at that market. But I think if you went into next summer with 4 centre halves of Nawrocki, Lagerbielke, Phillips and Cameron Carter-Vickers, it would make you a lot more comfortable about selling CCV if the right offer came in. So that would be very un-Celtic like preparing for something, some guy to be sold. Okay, so we're not too unhappy with the centre half position, albeit we think Carol Starfelt was a bit undersold. So we'll now move to the fullbacks. And the ins and outs in the fullbacks will be fairly quick to go through because we didn't bring any new fullbacks in. And the only guy that went out was Adam Montgomery, who went to Fleetwood Town on loan, I think, for the year. I'm not sure if that was till Christmas or for the full year. So another contentious one, this, because many people thought or felt we really needed to strengthen at left back especially, but we didn't end up getting anything over the line. What's your feelings on this one?
Left back is serious concern to me. I just said all along I'm not too sure about Bernabe. I think going forward he's okay, but defensively he's just all over the place. Like you've seen it at Ibrox, there was a few times and you're just like, hang on, Bernabe, that's your man. He's going round you. He's on the overlap, and he was kind of sort of doesn't realise what was happening around him. So I don't really have much confidence in him. And Greg Taylor, I really thought Greg Taylor was one of our better players last season, but his form has just nosedived. It's just fallen off a cliff. So left back is a serious concern at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just jump ahead a little bit here to some of the guys who have re-signed on new contracts. And one of these guys is a young 17-year-old boy called Mitchell Frame, who is a left back and is a very highly rated member of the youth team. Just playing devil's advocate here, if he was going to get introduced into the team and we had high hopes for him, would you be happy enough not to have signed a left back if he sort of moves up the pecking order?
No, because I still think even with him moving up the pecking order and Greg Taylor's dropping form, I still think we will need somebody who's first team ready, because we don't know how Mitchell Frame will pan out. He might turn out to be world class, you know what I mean? He might turn out to be the next Kieran Tierney, but there's no guarantees on that. So for now, I would still be saying to myself, we need a left back, and we probably need to move one of the two that's there already on to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I think the thing about Mitchell Frame is the sort of pattern up to now is our most highly rated players have been leaving to go to either English academies or academies on the continent. Now, the fact that he's re-signed and extended his contract suggests to me that he has been promised something, at least a shot at a first-team place. Otherwise, he would have moved on. They had plenty of offers, according to reports. But I think he's probably been promised something. Now, whether that's this season or next season remains to be seen. And I absolutely share your concerns about Bernabe. He was defensively, he was terrible against Rangers, and he looked as if he was lacking in a bit of commitment at times. He just looked as if he was just, just letting the flow of the game pass him by. And as usual, he had a couple of really good bursts forward, including a decent running cross, which set up a really good chance for O. But defensively, he's terrible. And then even against like run-of-the-mill SPL teams, he gets rinsed by wingers all the time. And he's not good enough defensively for me. And I agree. I think we should be moving him on. I don't really see any chance. I don't see enough improvement in his game unless Brendan can work a miracle on him. So, I think we can safely say that we're very disappointed that we didn't sign a left back. There was some rumours going about that we tried to get one from England on deadline day, but we couldn't get a deal done on wages. So, whether that's something that'll wait till January and have some impact. Again, if we have a really good left back, but we can only get him in January, I guess you've got to trust the club's judgment on that. But it is disappointing at the moment. And I feel as if when the Champions League starts next week, we're going to regret this. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. Because, like I say, I'm seriously concerned about Greg Taylor's form. You look at some of the passing he was putting in at Ibrox; it was just straight out the park. You can't be doing that in professional football. I mean, Mitchell Frame, the opportunity's there for him. I mean, that boy can see it himself. Maybe that's why he signed a new deal. He's just looked at the situation now and gone, "Hang on a second here. There's a massive opening here if I want to take my chance." And it's there for him if he wants to grab it.
Yeah, and out we saw Adam Montgomery, a guy who did see a bit of game time under Ange last year, going on loan to Fleetwood Town. Might be regretting that now that he's got a new manager and a
getting chased by
new manager.
Come on at the zoo. I'm gonna train you in your fitness. I'm gonna get some lions to chase you around. Okay, mate. Like, get you in your Giacomo jacket to hell.
So he's. I mean, Adam, he was alone last year. Was it St Johnson? He was alone last year.
He did all right out there, actually.
I think he did all right there, and he's another one there. I'm surprised that he did go out on loan because I've got a shortage of good left backs. So fair play. I hope he gets some good. So I hope he gets a decent amount of game time down there and comes back up next summer or Christmas, whatever it is, a better player because he was a good prospect.
Yeah, I hope so too. Right, just a pity Bruni's not there anymore. It's sort of guiding through.
Yeah, I know. That's it. I guess that's savage, isn't it? A really good season last year at Fleetwood. Bad start to the season, and you're rinsed. Within a few weeks. Harsh. All right, we'll step forward into central midfield, and then we saw Odin Thiago Holm. A 20-year-old from Valerenga for €3 million. We had Q Kwon from Busan in the K-League Second Division, 22 years old for €1 million. We made a deal for Tomoki Iwata permanent from Yokohama Marinos. The transfer fee was round about €1 million, give or take. And we brought in Paulo Bernardo late in the window from Benfica on a loan with an option to buy, 21-year-old central midfielder. Out the door, we saw a couple of old faces. Ismaila Soro, a guy who many of us would have swore that he'd left years ago, went to Beitar Jerusalem on a free. Liam Shaw went to Wigan Athletic on loan, another weird one. And Aaron Moy retired from football due to some back injuries. So, what's your feeling about how we're placed in central midfield, both attacking and defensive? Because I haven't divided them into attacking midfielders or defensive midfielders because I think a few of them there are interchangeable. So, how do you feel we're set up there?
I think we're top heavy in that department now, if I'm honest. Holm and Bernardo will be sort of that, but they'll vie out for that third position. I think O'Reilly and McGregor are stick-ons. That two places are fixed in. And sort of Holm and Bernardo will sort of be the backup rotational players. And it'll sort of be between Hatate and O'Reilly, which ones will come in and out. But I think O'Reilly and Kalmak are the first picks. So between between the five of them, I think you'll get a decent season out of them. Iwata, well, he seems to be on his way out, I would say, unless he can change Brendan Rodgers' mind, which I think will be unlikely, but he just needs to put his head down and get working. But for some reason, Brendan Rodgers doesn't rate him, and I can't understand it, because what I've seen so far, he's looked okay, and he's gone into that sort of role where he's getting played out of position. I said it a couple of weeks ago, like Vidar Riseth was the same. He was a central midfielder. He just got played all over the pitch, and he never actually got to play centre midfield. He was always left back, left wing, right back, centre half. He was never in his right position, and you never got to see him do what he could really do. And Tomoki Iwata seems to be falling into that category. The Kwon signing one, I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me. We've already got Iwata, Kalmak in that sort of position, and I just think it's another player that we didn't really need. They just sort of looked at him and thought, he's a prospect, we'll bring him in. So, yeah, I say we're top heavy, but I'm kind of hopeful the Bernardo one. I'd really like to see what this boy can offer, because you know what happens with it. You know what we can see coming through the Benfica youth ranks. Like it's an amazing talent pool they have there. So.
Yeah, he was another one that played for the under-21 Portuguese side on the weekend there against Andorra in a 7-0 win. So, yeah, he's obviously rated highly in that setup. So we've got high hopes for him. And I definitely think there's a place there for him. Notably absent from the re-signing list was David Turnbull. And Brendan was kind of talking about him way back in the off season, and he was talking about whether he gets a new deal or not is really down to him. Probably think he sealed his own fate there with his sort of really lackluster performances in the first few weeks. Do you think that's fair?
I think so. I mean, I would cut my losses. I wouldn't be in a rush to offer him a new deal. I mean, he had the opening day against Ross County. He played pretty well. He could have had a hat trick, and then we had a tough game against Aberdeen where they really tried to press us hard and press us high, and he went missing, and he was hooked at half time. And Ibrox last weekend again. He didn't do anything to make him stand out. You know what I mean? He just he picked up his man and kept him occupied, and he was there to pick up a triangular pass here and there, but he never really did anything of noteworthy. So I just think we've got one of these players who's going to be a standout for an Aberdeen or a Motherwell, but he's just not going to be good enough to make the grade with Celtic or. I don't know if he would make it in the English Championship either. I think he is an SPL standard player, a really good SPL standard player, but I think that's a bit of his ceiling there.
Yeah, my issue with Turnbull is he's never improved for me. He's never improved the weaknesses in his game from the day he signed, and that to me speaks volumes about him. I just don't think he's put the work or the time in. He doesn't look fitter. He doesn't look faster. His decision making doesn't seem to be up to scratch. It seems to take too long to make a decision. He can't play in the half turn, and he's really one-footed. So, and I don't see a future for him in that midfield anyway. And I do agree with you though. The Kwon signing is a bit of a head scratcher. Made a couple of appearances pre-season, one in particular against Bilbao, where it looked as if he'd only recently been introduced to the game of association football. It just looked like a fish out of water there. And yet, it's not really surprising given he came from the second division in Korea. And I think this is just one example of a signing for a signing's sake because he's profiled well in some database. And I just don't see him ever getting enough game time to justify his transfer. So a weird one for me.
I don't. I mean, is it? Did they buy him just to say, right? We'll make up numbers. We'll get a couple other South Koreans, so there's company there for them, so they don't get alone there. Or so somebody to talk to in the training pitch or whatever. Like, I don't know. It just
they can all gather. They can all gather together and eat kimchi together.
That's it.
Something like that.
Yeah, quickly on Turnbull, players like Rogic and Aaron Moy didn't have the same same pace as other midfielders, but they had the in-game intelligence to make that space for themselves. David Turnbull can't do that, like, you know what I mean? And he's just. I think it's time for him to be moved on. But again, Kwon, strange decision, right?
Yeah. So overall, are we happy with how we're sitting in central midfield? Moving forward, if given it, although we do look to be a little bit top heavy there, but we have got plenty of options.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Odenholm has a bit of dig about him. Bernardo, well, remains to be seen what's going to come there, and we already know what we can get out of Hatate, O'Reilly, and McGregor. So I'm comfortably enough going forward with that midfield.
Yeah, I hope we see Bernardo get some minutes on the weekend against Dundee. That would be good. I don't think he'll start the game, but if he could get off the bench for maybe the last half an hour or something, it would be good. He's obviously match fit if he's playing for the Portugal under-21. So just quickly on the outs, happy to see the back of Ismaili Asoro.
I'll miss his smile. He's a big smile. He's just going to this tackle, just completely mistimed it, getting booked, and he just gets up and he smiles and he runs off. And that, like, the Liam Shaw one, that was just a waste of time. There's another one that's just like, why are we bothering? Who's it came with Urigidi? Was it?
Yeah, Urigidi and Shaw both came from Sheffield Wednesday together.
It's just like, why? You know what I mean? What was the point in that? Like, you know what I mean? How much have you spent on their wages and on the transfer fee? It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, Ismaili Asoro really enjoyed playing the game of football and really quite enjoyed being crap at the game of football. So it really didn't seem to bother him at all that he was a terrible footballer. So fair play to him. Let's hope. And he's only 25, so he's got many more years ahead of him.
Many more years and many big smiles.
Yeah, that's right. Many more bookings to come, I would think. All right, so we'll move forward to the front line, and we'll start by looking at the wingers. Now, again, we've kind of mixed them up between left and right because most of the wingers we've got are interchangeable. So in we brought Luis Palma from Aris Thessalonica, who's 23 years old and cost us €4.75 million. We brought in Hyunjun Yang from Gangwon FC in South Korea, who's 21 and cost us €2.5 million. We brought in Marco Tilio from Melbourne City here in Australia, who's 21 years old and cost us €1.75 million, which is an A-League record. And we had Mikey Johnson, who's 24, returning from loan from Vitória Guimarães. Moving out the revolving door was Jota, who went to Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia in the most bizarre deal of the century, in a deal worth €29.1 million. And apparently he's been left out of their squad for the upcoming season. So if you can work that one out, you're a better man than me. But just briefly, let's just talk about the players we have signed. Who are you most excited about seeing there? And is there anyone you've got kind of concerns about?
I'm excited to see what Palmer can offer. I mean, obviously, we've all watched the YouTube reels, and he looks pretty good. He can take a set piece. He can play anywhere across the front three. He likes to drop deep, pick up the ball, so he can carry the ball as well. So I'm excited to see what he can offer. We've seen what Yang can do. We know Yang can. He likes to get the ball, get the ball down and run at his man, take him on and get the crosses in. So I've high hopes for him too. But Tilio is another one. I'm really interested to see what this guy can do because again, it's all down to YouTube reels. That's all I've seen. But he looks like another guy who'll stand his man up and try and take him on and get to the byline. And he's another guy who can play across anywhere across the sort of front three. So we seem to be well complemented in there.
Yeah, I mean, Tilio, I think, is a good player. I'm not going to say I'm an avid watcher of the A-League, but I do catch the odd game from time to time, and he does look quite good and quite a aggressive attacking right winger who likes to take his man on, likes to get in the box and likes to get on the end of things. My only concern here is, again, I think we're a little bit top heavy again because we've also got Abada there who's also had his deal extended for an extra couple of years, and on the left we've got Maeda and we've also got Rocco Vata and James Forrest. Now, James Forrest's a guy who I mean, God love him, and he's been a great servant to Celtic, but you don't want to see James Forrest getting too many minutes. I think that's a sort of a good barometer of how bad Celtic season's going if James Forrest is getting a lot of minutes. So you want him to be around the place, but I don't want to see him playing very much. And I worry a bit about Marco Tilio because when's he going to get game time? You know what I mean? He needs to play minutes in order to show people what he can do. And at the moment, he's injured. He seems to have been injured for a really long time. And doesn't seem to be any prospect of him being fit yet. I haven't heard anything coming out of the club apart from some sort of vague notion of sometime in September. But I don't know whether that's when he's going to be back in full training or whether he's going to be fit or not. We haven't heard too much about that. So do you think we've maybe overextended ourselves in that position?
I don't know, because it's a sort of position your wingers, the ones that are normally subbed are wingers. You know what I mean? There's always game time there for wingers to come on to. Like, well, but you look at Abada's out injured now, so there's a space on the right already. So Young's the next one up. So that if Tilio's fit, there might be a place on the bench for him. And if Young tires or Young can't get a grip of the game against Dundee or an away day at Livingston, you know what I mean? There could be a chance for Tilio to get some game time. I do think he will get some game time, Mike. But I think we're well positioned, and I think we've got a sort of variety of players there. But you are right, we are a little bit top heavy, and the players who you would say you wouldn't be getting any game time are sort of Mikey Johnson and James Forrest. So yeah, I'm happy enough at the moment. So I'm quite excited to see what Lewis Palmer can do and Tilio can do. So whether they can do it in the Champions League level 2 is another matter. So we're going to find out soon enough.
And what do you reckon about the Rocco Vata situation? Now, this is a weird one for me because, you know, it seems as if he's not in the picture at all, given the fact we've signed 2 players, Yang and Tilio, in the position that he plays, and he's already got Abada there as well in front of him. So he's now 4th choice for a right wing position, and he was, by all accounts, looking to exit the club over the summer, but the club have knocked back a couple of offers for him and are wanting him to sign a new deal if reports are to be believed. So what do you think behind that? It's a bit of a head scratcher, isn't it?
It's a bit of a strange situation because he does. It looks to me as if he wants to go away, but the club don't want him to go. But what are they going to do? They're going to say, here, sign a new deal on the way back down to the Lowland League and play football against a brickie who's going to start throwing heavy tackles in at your knee. You know what I mean? I can understand why the boy doesn't want this. If he's sitting there watching Celtic go out in the transfer window and needing a goalkeeper and a left back, and then going out and signing 1, 2, 3, 4 wingers, like, you know what I mean? He's getting sent back out to the Lowland League. You can understand why he's a bit hesitant in signing a new deal, like so. I feel sorry for the boy in that regard, but football's a tough business, like.
Yeah, 100%. I could, if I was his parent or his agent or something, I'd be absolutely trying to engineer a move out of the club. I just don't think it's fair to be asking. I mean, he played a few times last season off the bench. I mean, he looked okay to me. Again, another guy, he stood his winger up stood the fullback up a few times and got past him. Had a couple of decent crosses into the box. Can't remember who we were playing. Might have been St Mirren. And he looked okay. He looked as if he was somebody who could be challenging for a space there. But now he's finding himself back down there playing against civil service strollers on a Saturday afternoon. Now the boy's got a career to think about, and unless Brendan's got something in mind for him in terms of, I don't know, through the middle as a striker or something, that has been mentioned. They might fancy him as more of an out-and-out striker. But it's a strange one to me why they would knock back any sort of money for him, particularly since he's out of contract next summer. So he can walk away for nothing at the end of the season. and it doesn't seem to be in the plans at the moment. Just touching quickly on the Jota situation, do you have any idea what's going on there?
Not a clue. Not a clue. I mean, he's had, 2 or 3 games and he's actually scored when he's played. So
a goal, yeah.
And it's a good goal too. He's cut in from the wing, just belted it right past the keeper. So I just don't understand it. I mean, the rumour was they wanted Mo Salah, and they're only allowed 8 European players in the team, and they had the full complement. So they were like, who are going to jettison? And they're like, we'll just jettison him. But I just don't understand this. I mean, here's an extremely talented footballer. They've gone out and shelled £25 million on him, right? And then they just turn and go, you know what? I don't fancy it. Like, I'm going to hang around their house. They might turn up with a Bugatti. Like, I don't like this one here. You can have it. Like, oh, cheers, man. Drive off.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. I mean, what do they do with him now, though? What happens? Do they pay out his contract and let him leave on a free, or do they just leave him sitting in his hotel picking up money? Or do you know what I mean? It's just the weirdest thing.
190 grand a week he's on. It's not like he's on small money. It's not like he's on like SPL style wages or anything like that. He's on 190 grand a week, like.
Yeah.
But right, we don't want you. Here's your 5 years worth of 190 grand a week. See you later. You've got a free transfer. Like, win-win.
That happens. Then that's the jackpot. That's a lottery win. But it can't be right that clubs are able to do that, though, to just sign players without any intention of playing for them. That has to be bad for the game. I mean, I'm not one for, we've all got our opinions on the Saudi regime and a lot of the other Middle Eastern regimes in terms of their human rights. But just from a purely footballing sense, that can't be right. We can't allow that to happen.
No. Where's the FIFA financial fair play when that comes in? You know what I mean? They're just going, oh, hi, they filled their pockets. We'll just turn a blind eye to all this, what's going on over there right now, because there's no way that Al Ittihad are bringing in the kind of money from their own revenue, from sponsorship deals and what have you, to cover all that sort of cost. That's just a rich man putting his hand in his pocket and just like Brooke Nielsen did with Gretna Green, just funded it all himself. Like, you know what I mean?
Maybe on a slightly different scale.
A grander scale, like, but it's a kind of similar thing. Like, once Brooke Nielsen...
Fair play to Gretna. They came up through the leagues quicker than Rangers did.
That's true.
They took one less season than Sevco to get into the top league. So
disappeared faster too.
That's right. Yeah, they weren't long there. It was good while it lasted, though. Okay, so we'll draw the line under the wingers then. We'll move up to the centre forward position. Another one where we didn't bring anyone in. But the most significant move of the summer was finally managing to shift Albion Ayeti, who moved to Gaziantep FK in the Superliga in Turkey for €585,000. Now, to me, that's a great bit of business for us to get anything for Albion Ayeti with a year to go on his contract, on being on such big wages. To get any money for him was brilliant. But just talking about, disappointed we didn't bring a centre forward in.
Oh, very disappointed we didn't get another centre forward in. It's a position we're really light on is natural finishers. So Kyogo's a class act, but we are way too heavily reliant on him. And you can see after 60 minutes in the game, because the way he buzzes about the pitch, after 60, 70 minutes, he's burst. You know what I mean? His energy levels that he uses, it's just gone. We all know he's needing surgery on his shoulder, and he's one fall away from being out injured. So, I mean, O's young, he's full of energy, but I'm afraid his decision-making has left me more than perplexed on a few occasions. I'm not so sure that... if that injury did happen to Kyogo, that O would be the one to lead the line there. Like, he's always looking to get into a physical battle more often than not. Like, and I'm not sure if he can be sort of the one to be the number one striker for any sort of sustained period of time. Like, we have a lot of wingers there, but that could go out, push up, and play in the front position. But they will lack that natural striker's predatory instinct in the box. Like, so. Yeah, it's a position I would be worried about. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I was quite excited by the link with Sidney Van Hooijdonk. To me, he profiled very similar to Gigi Giacomakis, and I think never really replaced what Giacomakis brought to the team, and that he was a guy who basically guaranteed you goals when he came on. And again, he had flaws in his game for sure, but guaranteed he was going to get on the score sheet. And I think Sidney Van Hooijdonk maybe have been quite similar to him. So I was quite disappointed that one didn't happen. A lot of the sort of in the nose in the Celtic podcasting world are suggesting that there has been a deal done for Matthias Kvitskarden from Brøndby, and they just couldn't get it done in time for the window closing, but that will be done on the 1st of January as soon as the window opens. So, yeah, I'm not really sure about him. His goal scoring record's not magnificent, although he is highly rated in Denmark. So, would you be happy with waiting until January for him?
I think we've no choice in the matter, but I do think we need something slightly different up there. Even just if the dynamics of the game isn't going our way, we can't really change it, because we've often said that. I know he likes getting a physical battle, but he's into that sort of finishing area where he's very similar positions he'll take up to Kyogo inside the box and that. But okay, Kyogo's trying to adapt his game at the moment to try and come a bit deeper in that, but we just lack that something different. You know what I mean? I don't know how to put it into words, but we are lacking something up front, and I just can't quite sort of describe what it is, what we need. It's just something different to what.
I think there's daylight in terms of quality between Kyogo and O, and we need someone to fill that gap in quality between those two. I mean, you're going to be struggling to sign a player as good as Kyogo. He's on track to be one of our best strikers in the modern era. But I think we could have made more of an attempt to get someone who's a little bit closer in quality than what O is. And I thought O was pretty brutal when he came on against Rangers. He butchered a couple of sort of chances. And you're right, he looks as if he's looking for defenders to back into, rather than try to get into space. It seems as if he's sort of trying to big up this image of him as a physical centre forward. When, I'm not sure that's his game, to be honest. And there's a lot more development he's going to have to get before he'll be able to challenge Kyogo for a starting spot. And what do you reckon about the notion that it's been floated that Maeda is now the backup striker?
He plays that position for Japan, and it's a different style of football he'll be playing to what we play when he's playing for Japan. But I don't think he has the predatory skills to play up front. We've seen some of his shooting coming off of late, and it's not been great. I mean, he'll certainly keep defenders busy by moving around with that sort of perpetual motion that him and Kyogo both possess, but I'm not so confident with him playing in the central striker's role. Right?
Yeah, I think we were on the same podcast where we discussed this, weren't we? And I was making the point that he's okay in a certain type of game where you're not going to have much possession of the ball. For instance, maybe a Champions League away game, a pot 1 or a pot 2 team. But that's where it starts and finishes for me. I don't think he's got the first touch, and I don't think he's got the instinctive finish to be a centre forward in a team that's playing against a low block 75% of the time. So not for me at all. Now, unless there's something there in terms of, as we mentioned, like Rocco Vata or something like that. I know Abada's been played through the middle a couple of times as well. So we might be resorting to something like that. And maybe Brendan's working on something on the training ground. But I think all in all, we've got to be quite disappointed with the business that we've done in that position. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm quite disappointed. And like I say, we just need that third striker up there who offers something a little bit different to what the other two have. We didn't go out and get that. And I think Sidney Van Hooijdonk, like you say, Sidney Van Hooijdonk could have done that. Kvitskarden might be the answer. But again, January's going to roll around and we're going to have if we don't get somebody in January, that Asia Cup's going to come round and we're going to have Mikey Johnson playing up front because we all our strikers and wingers will be away to Asia, like so. The Asia Cups.
It's a terrifying thought, isn't it?
Isn't it like?
So yeah, I neglected one other outgoing, Johnny Kenny, our 20-year-old centre forward, departed on loan again for Shamrock Rovers, which is I think the team we got him from in the first place. So haven't seen anything of him. The fact that they're punting him around on loan, he's 20. He's at an age where he should be, developing into a first team player. So I think he's one that's probably just going to get shuffled around until he can find a permanent move somewhere.
Seems to be the problem. They get too good for the Lowland League, and then they get put out on loan, and then they come back, and then we've nothing in the first team for you. You can go to the Lowland League, or you can go out on loan again. It's not fair on them, and it's not fair on. It's just not fair on them. I'm going to say it's not fair on them. It's not fair on us, but it's just not fair on them.
Yeah, you've got to let the boy build a career somewhere at some level of football. So I think he's probably a League of Ireland level striker, and that's probably where he's going to end up. So hopefully by the time he comes back from that loan, he can make something happen on a permanent basis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the team. We moved through the whole team. We'll just talk briefly about the contract extensions that we dished out. So we had Cal McGregor. We gave him a new 5-year deal through to 2028. Daizen Maeda we've extended to 2027. Kyogo Furuhashi we've also extended to 2027. Mitchell Frame extended to 2026 that we mentioned before. Bosun Laval, centre half, was extended to 2026, then promptly sent out on loan. Did he go to Fleetwood as well?
He's at Fleetwood. Yep.
Okay, so he's away down there to Fleetwood. And Leela Bada was also extended to 2027. So decent bit of business there, I think. Anything there that sort of caught your eye or raised your eyebrows?
Nah, not really. I think they all sort of make sense, to be honest. Like, we've seen what they can all do. So, yeah, Mitchell Frame's the one that sort of stands out there because I wasn't really aware of the boy, but it's good to see that they're giving the youth a chance. Like, so, I'm reasonably happy with all that. Like, Matt O'Reilly next, so that'll do for me, and Hatate. I'll be really happy.
Yeah, really, and Hatate. It would be good to get them tied down. For me, the 5-year deal for Callum McGregor is a bit of a red flag for me for a guy who's turning 30, that turns 30 this year or is 30 already. That deal takes him through to when he's 35. And I think at some point over the next 5 years, there is going to be a drop-off. Now, there are people who would tell you can see it already, although he did play really well at Ibrox and proved some of the doubters wrong. But would you be concerned with the length of that deal?
It is, possibly, but then are they going to turn around in 4 years' time and say, well, look, it's in your deal that the wage might decrease a little as you get to the twilight years of your career, your money might go down, but then he might have a clause in his contract to say that he remains a top earner as long as he's captain. I think Scott Brown had something similar in his deal. So 5 years is a long time, but he's a good player. I mean, if he can keep that levels of play up for 5 years, I'd be quite happy, but there's no guarantee on that. Like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good player and he's vital to the team at the moment. You just wonder, like 3 years down the line, is that situation going to be the same? And I just hope they're not left with a situation where they've got he's on too much money and they can't move him on, or he just wants to hang around and and that's not what you want for a player like Callum McGregor. You want him to go at the top level. So so the 5 years seemed a bit long for me. The rest of the deals, yeah, fair enough. I think that was all decent business. Abada maybe was one who I thought they would maybe think about selling. He's at a good age to sell. The talk was that he was looking for a move. If you believe the transfer model works, then maybe Abada would have made sense to sell him, given how many right wingers we have. But I'm not too disappointed to see him signing a new deal and staying around. I think there's a lot more development in him yet, and he's still young. Bosun Laval, anything I've seen of this guy, he just doesn't look up to the standard required in any of the B team games I've seen, and I don't really understand why they've given him a new deal. He must show something that I don't see any time I see him. And again, I'm not the most avid watcher of the Celtic B team games, so maybe other people will contradict me here. But any time I've seen him, he just looks pretty poor. Have you seen much of him?
The only time I've seen him is he played in Australia. He looked all right when he came on there. He looked comfortable enough on the ball, but you're in a friendly situation there, so you're not really getting tested. So, I mean, if he's got promise, they obviously see something in him in the training ground that we don't see. You know what I mean? Because they've gone out and offered him the new deal. So. It might be another one where he just sort of kicks around the Lowland League and then he gets punted out on loan left, right, and centre like Johnny Kenny does. So.
Yeah, and again, you don't want to see that. I mean, again, we're pretty well sorted for centre halves at the moment. So if there's a deal to be done for him, you would hope that the sum gets worked out there. All right, moving on. What would be your overall views of the transfer window then in terms of what we've achieved? Do you think we have come out in a good place, or are you left with a feeling of regret about things we didn't do? And how do you think we're placed to have a crack at Europe on the back of some of these transfers?
The transfer window, it was one that promised so much at the start and delivered very little, if I'm honest. I don't think we've enhanced the squad, but I don't think we've significantly weakened it either. You take Jota's departure aside, I think I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think we've just kind of sidestepped into the new season. I don't think we've like I said, I don't think we've strengthened. I don't think we've significantly weakened ourselves either. What some of the bigger signings not able to be done because Brendan wanted to run a rule over who he wanted to come in and who we had lined up and who he wanted. So it was just on a different page, and it was just too late in the day to try and get bigger deals done. Who knows? But I certainly have concerns about left back. I certainly have concerns that we are very light in the goalkeeping position and the striking position. So a pretty average transfer window for Celtic. I would give it a 6 out of 10. You know what I mean? Nothing spectacular.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be in agreement with most of that, Willie. I think we all had high hopes that this was going to be the window where we really raised the level of quality in the team. It's a bit of a catchphrase of Brendan's at the moment, the quality in the team. But we really thought, with the money we had in the bank before the window even started, we were issuing statements to the stock exchange to tell them we had more money than we previously thought. We then sell Jota for almost a record fee. And although, that wasn't all profit, that wasn't all straight. The money doesn't all come in at once. We understand that. It comes in stages normally with transfers. But by the same token, the players we buy, we pay for in stages as well. So it generally balances itself out. So I think it's been a disappointing window for me overall as well. I don't think in terms of European progression we're any better position than we were this time last year. And I don't have any high hopes for Europe at all. Unless Brendan can pull something out of the bag tactically or get a real tune out of one of the players coming in. But it looks to me as if every player that we bought has been bought with the intention of selling on at a profit, rather than what they can contribute while they're here being the main objective. And I think that's clear, certainly with guys like Kwon, a guy who you bring in for 800 grand. Now he's not going to raise the level of the team this season in the Champions League. And the same goes for Thiago Holm. Looks all right, but again, he's not a Champions League level player. He's not going to make us better in that arena. and the fact that we didn't sign a left back and a goalkeeper, which cost us last year in numerous games, sort of leads me to believe that the club is not that invested in European success as what we would like them to be. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I think the board of directors will be looking at last weekend's results, sitting there rubbing their paws together. Oh, we don't need to do too much more spending because we are absolutely leagues ahead of these guys. And it seems to be that their raison d'etre is to stay one step ahead of Rangers, whereas the fans are screaming out for us to progress in Europe and to start hitting our peers and trying to get onto the next level of the peer ladder. Just the left back situation, just you can see it the whole season. Greg Taylor's been struggling, and there just doesn't seem to be any move for a left back. It's concerning, but hopefully in January we can look at that and address those three positions quite early. Get the goalkeeper in, get a left back in, and get another striker in, and then we'll see where we go from there. But right now, like I say, it's a bit of a bland window. Like I say, 6 out of 10. You read it in the reports in the week, nothing spectacular. Did what was needed to be done.
Could do better.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing we talk about all the time with our transfer model, and I'm not absolutely convinced that we understand really what it is. I think any transfer model should have the intention of making the team better as its primary objective and not raising revenue from transfers. And I think we've got that back to front at the moment. I'm not sure that any transfer model should be 100% absolutist. There should be a mixture of things going on. There should always be room for signing a guys like Nat Phillips. Now, I know we brought a guy in like that, but it was an emergency loan. There should always be room for bringing in an experienced player, maybe 27, 28-year-old, on for a big transfer fee, money you're not going to get back if that improves the team. And Ajax do it, and Benfica do it. I mean, Ajax brought Danny Blint back to the club because that's what they needed. They needed an experienced head. And it's just something we don't seem to do. We just seem to be 100% focused on this model. Would you be in agreement with that?
I think so. I mean, if you look at it, you should realistically have a leader in each department. Have like a Calvin Carter-Vickers, a Callum McGregor. Have the spine of the team where you're not interested in selling them in any way, shape, or form, and the rest of the players around that you can bring in and just like get aggressive with your player trading model. Like let them come in. Hatati's there. He's worth a bit of money. You could turn and say, well, we could sell him as long as we've got another number. Fabian Ryder could come in. We could sell Hatati for 20 million, bring Ryder in for 10. We've got 10 million in the bank. We could go and get out and get another 3 or 4 players like Thiago, Home, and Kwon, and they all come in too. But they're not interested in the big signing that's going to push you to the next level and making that incremental steps through the ranks of what they're going to, the level of player you're going to sign. They just look at the 18 to 20-year-olds. Oh yeah, he's doing well at that club. We'll buy him. There's no give on it, like so.
Yeah, they're looking in the 1 to 5 million price range as well, and they're looking to flip players for up to 20 million, occasionally getting a little bit more than that. But what surprises me the most is that this attitude, because every time we've spent big, £6 million and above, it's been a big success for us. We've never had any failures. The most expensive failure we've had in recent years has been Alban Ajeti. Right, but if you look back, even all the way back to Martin O'Neill's era, we paid £6.5 million for Chris Sutton. Huge success. We paid £6.5 million for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota. Big successes. And we paid £9 million for Odsonne Edouard. And then another big success. So we've had success in that price range. And it just seems to me they're always trying to find the diamond in the mud. They're always trying to find out someone in the 2 to 5 million or 1 to 5 million price range who they're going to be able to flip for big money. And the only way, in my opinion, we're going to get closer to teams in our peer group like Benfica and Ajax. And I know we can't compete with them at the moment because their revenues are miles higher than us because they sell players for more than we do. And we have to try and get closer to them. And I thought moving into this transfer window that the club had finally realised this.
Yeah.
And we're starting to move in the right direction. But it seems not. It seems as if we're still trading water and just treating anything we do in Europe as a bonus.
Yeah. But even clubs like Young Boys or the team from Belgium, I forgot their name now, but they'll spend they'll spend 10 million on a player, no bother at all. Oh, we need a goalkeeper, right? He's 15 million. Well, we'll get him, man. You know what I mean? They're not worried. They're not frightened to outlay the money because they know it's going to get them into the Champions League, and when they get into the Champions League, we get more money. So. But we're happy. We're happy to play. We're happy to roll the dice in qualifications. Okay, we've been guaranteed European football this last couple of seasons, and we'll get it next season as well. But once after the season after next, we're probably going to go into qualification again, and the board are quite happy to roll the dice at that stage. You know what I mean? If we don't make it, then we're in the Europa League, and we'll get a reasonable pot of money for that, and we can survive on it. Like, you know what I mean?
And we'll just sell a big player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not great and not what we were hoping for. Looking ahead quickly to the January window, what are you hoping for? Hoping to see us do then?
Definitely a left back, without doubt. It has to be a top priority position. I think Fitzgarden will probably come in, so the striker position's probably covered, and goalkeeper. So if it's a boy from Liverpool comes in, then so be it. Like, but I think left back and goalkeeper are high priority. Like,
yeah, let's hope by some miracle we're still in Europe by that time, and that these guys that come in January can actually make a difference.
We'll soon find out. I mean, we're going to the Coupe Stadium next week, is it? And it's going to be tough. Like, everyone thinks we can sort of push for third place in this group, and I'm not. I hope we can get third place out of it, but I don't know.
I don't think it's realistic. I think we are, without a doubt, the worst team in the group, and that's shown by what pot we're in. We're in pot 4 for a reason.
We're sitting there.
We're sitting there. Sorry, mate. Where you go?
I'm going to say, like, we're sitting there looking at Feyenoord and the pot 1 group, rubbing our hands, going, "Oh, look, we've got Feyenoord out of there." Feyenoord's probably looking at pot 4 and going, "Oh, they're Celtic. We'll take that. No bother at all." Like, you know what I mean? And I think Lazio and Atletico Madrid will probably be looking at us thinking, "No, that's all right. I can handle that." Feyenoord and Celtic in the group. Yep.
Well, we haven't won a Champions League match, a group stage match, for 6 years. When we beat Anderlecht, and we haven't won a home Champions League game for a decade. So I don't know where any sort of confidence is coming from, because our European record is frankly an embarrassment. So I think if we win 1 or 2 games, I think we can call that progress. But I think any notion that we've got a better than average chance of winning third in the group, I think that's just way overly optimistic.
Listen, I don't think we're going to go out and set a record for the worst ever performance in the Champions League. Touch wood. But
this is getting recorded, you know.
I know. But I don't. I'm not as confident as some other fans are out there at the moment. I'm just looking at this thinking, we went out there last year and we had a decent enough draw, and we couldn't beat Shakhtar home and away when we should have beaten Shakhtar home and away. And like I say, we've sidestepped into this season. Teams around us in Europe, they don't sidestep into new seasons; they move forward, and we haven't. You know what I mean? And that's my biggest concern at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, after all, Feyenoord, they finished above PSV in the league last year, and they just rinsed Rangers last week without too much trouble at all. So, so let's see what happens. You know, it's good that we're in it, and we might just have to enjoy the occasion. It's sound a bit like the Tartan Army now, don't we? Let's just enjoy the occasion. All right. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you've got any comment on anything we've said, please reach out to us on our social media channels, which are along the bottom of the screen here. And don't forget to catch our regular Celtic Down Under live podcasts on a Monday and a Thursday night. and a weekend review show, which is also recorded by the Western Australia boys, which usually comes out on a Tuesday. So thanks for joining me, Willie. You looking forward to the game on the weekend?
I am, yeah. It's just be good to get back into the Celtic swing of things. So,
yeah. Are you getting up early to watch the Scotland-England game tomorrow?
I think it's what time is it? They're quarter to 6 in the morning. It kicks off here, so I should be up and about for it. Like, so, hopefully, I won't be hiding behind the couch by half time.
Yeah, let's hope so.
All
right. Okay. Thanks, mate, and thanks everyone for listening. And hail, hail.
Hail, hail.